Go love your own enemies. Don't be loving mine. My enemies are the theocratic fascists. I don't love them. I want to destroy them.
Child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
Seems to be one of those days where I'm in the mood to make videos. Don't know why, just kind of that way. Like the hat, this is an incredibly inexpensive hat that you can buy at Goodwill. They come in different colors. I had somebody get on my bus the other day who had a black and gray version of this, and I really liked it. She said, "Oh, go to Goodwill. It's like $8 something." So I did, and there, of course, I had to go for the red because I like the great outdoors, and this looked outdoorsy to me. So this is what I call a stream of conscious video. I just tend to ramble about stuff that pops into my mind, things that annoy me, things that, you know, not enough to make a whole big video about, but just stuff. Like this morning, I woke up and got this lovely little comment on the video that I made a long time ago called Jeannie Wiley, My Proof God is Imaginary. Jeannie being a little girl that was held captive in a room until age 13, tied to a potty chair, and God never bothered to lift a finger to rescue her, and if he had, maybe she would have had more of a decent, normal life, but no, he didn't do anything because he's not really, he doesn't really exist, and if he really did exist, he'd be a sadistic asshole. So that's basically the gist of this video, and Shona McCarthy is somebody that I thought I had blocked, but apparently not, because here she is. And she wrote somebody who had made comments, an atheist who had made comments, Joe Average. She writes, "I suspect that if you speak to most abusers, they will be able to cite abuses in their own life that caused them to abuse. I'm not saying they have no responsibility. I am saying that it might be just as unethical for God to take revenge on an abused child who grew up to be mentally disturbed enough to tie a child to a chair for years as it would be for that child who was tied to a chair." I get so tired of this. I really, really get tired of this. The assumption that God exists. It just gets so old. And it's like, I feel like a broken record. I repeat the same thing over and over again, what I wrote, basically more or less what I wrote to her. Until you show testable and verifiable evidence that gods exist, and then even more to show it or they are your gods. Talking about these things like their existence is a given is rude and very obnoxious. If gods do exist, I hope yours does not, because yours is a sadistic bastard that loved killing children in the Bible. I get so sick of this. The two things that I get so incredibly tired of is the attitude that we're going to talk about God like he's a real person. We're just going to skip right over the need to prove that this thing actually exists or that gods in general exist. We're skipping right over that part. That's one of them. And the other one is the, I'm trying to think, the atheism is a religion thing. Those two things you get all the time from Christians, and it is just so aggravating. It's just so aggravating. It's like, I get tired of Christians in general. I get tired of their stupid, weak arguments that they repeat over and over. And then when they finally, okay, well, here's my proof that God exists, what do? They give you a link to a video. I'm sorry, but some clever philosophical argument is not proof that God exists. Everything I mean, I've said this before, again, I sound like a broken record. Something so powerful that it created the universes, and they're showing now that there's more than one of them, is pretty darn powerful and pretty darn big. Something that big and powerful would be trackable. There would be some kind of effect it would make on the universe and on the planets and on our planet. There would be some kind of testable, verifiable, discernible, readable effect, something that we could detect with whatever, radar detectors or whatever, you know, audio devices, the Hubble telescope. There's absolutely nothing. It does absolutely nothing. It manifests itself on the planet absolutely in no way at all. Does not do anything that's detectable in the universe, is not seeable. Oh yes, well, air is also invisible. Yes, but air manifests itself. Electricity manifests itself. Gases manifest themselves. Everything that's invisible that exists manifests itself. That's how we discovered it exists. But this thing doesn't, and there's nothing anywhere that shows it exists. There's no evidence anywhere that shows it exists. No proof at all. And Christians just talk about God like he's their next door neighbor. Like his existence is a given. I want to make up a character. Honestly, I want to make up a character, and he talks to us through books, not just one book, because he doesn't limit himself like that. This is a God who doesn't limit himself to just one book, but he communicates to us through all written language. That's right, all written language. And how you can tell what he's saying to you is you look at the first letter of the first word in every sentence. You go down vertically down the page, and you get the first letter to the first word of every sentence. And then you have to go through all those letters, because obviously some of them don't go together, you know, like if there's a T and an L or a D and a P together, well, you're going to have to pick one of them. So it's very tricky to figure out the message, but you have to go through them and weed out the letters that clearly are, you know, his arch enemy trying to interfere with his message, until you get the message, what the words say. That's how he communicates. And you know, I mean, the chances of this God who speaks to us through the first letters of the first word of every sentence existing is just the same as the chances of Yahweh existing. Exactly the same. I could say that there's a God who inspired the creation of sofas because he wants to support and uphold and comfort his creations. So the God of the sofa inspired the sofa to be his temple, and that people go to the sofa when they are weary to be refreshed and be rejuvenated. The God of the sofa, the chance of him existing is just as likely as the chance of Yahweh existing. You know? I just get so tired of this attitude. We're just going to assume that it's a given. And then they put that on us, on atheists. We have to talk to them. We have to also put ourselves at the same level they're on, assuming this thing exists. It's like, oh, let's talk about, let's, you know, it's like, oh, I can't even think of an example. This is one that people use all the time, or at least I do. Lord of the Rings. It's like, let's talk about Bilbo Baggins, like he's a real person, you know. And he's as real as Jesus. I'm sorry, they're just as fiction. There's nothing to show Bilbo ever lived for real except a written book. There's nothing to show Jesus ever existed for real except a written book. But let's talk about them. Let's talk about Bilbo. Like, he really did go on an adventure, and he really did go to Lonely Mountain, and he really did bring back a trunk of gold and a magical ring. Let's talk about him like he's for real with other adults, and see how annoying we are and how annoyed those other adults get in a very short while. Now imagine having to deal with that all the time. You go out of the house, you can't get away from it. It's like pictures of people worshiping an image of Bilbo Baggins, you know, people wearing the one ring around their necks because it's a holy symbol. People talking about when Bilbo will come back again, you know. People singing songs about Bilbo, people having special days of the year that's to celebrate Bilbo Baggins. And if you want to celebrate any other thing that day, they get very upset because the true reason for the season is Bilbo Baggins. It just gets so annoying coming from other adults that just assume this thing is real. You know, I get a warm, fuzzy feeling when I think about the God of the sofa. That's my proof that he really exists. And if you believed in the God of the sofa, you too would get that warm, fuzzy feeling. You just have to lay down on your sofa and just relax for a little while, and you'll get that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, and then you'll know that he's real. That's enough proof and evidence for me. Why are you being so stubborn? Why are you denying the Lord of the sofa? Well, you know what? When you die, you're going to be sorry, because the Lord of the sofa is going to condemn you to have to sit on a chair with spikes on it for all eternity. That's right. You're going to be condemned to sit on a chair with spikes, nails, driving into your flesh for all eternity. If you don't worship the Lord of the sofa, that's going to be your fate. So you better worship him. I mean, let's just say you could just assume that he doesn't exist and end up on the chair of spikes, or, you know, like an insurance policy, you could just believe in him, and that way for sure you'll be safe when you die. You won't end up having to sit on the chair with the spikes. You know, I mean, what do you got to lose? I would just suggest you believe in him to be safe. Better safe than sorry. Of course, I assume that you can just turn belief on like a switch, like you've got a switch on the back of your neck that you can believe or not believe that easily in something. Unlike me. See, I actually think I have to be convinced to believe things. But, no, apparently not. People who believe in, assume that God's existence is just a given. They think you can, people like this just think you can turn on belief like a switch. Well, you just don't, you're just denying, you're refusing to believe. No, it's not that I'm refusing to believe, it's I can't believe because you're not showing me any evidence or proof. Then I get so tired of the weak, inane, stupid arguments over and over and over. It's like, even if I got off of YouTube and I got off of Facebook and I tried to get away long before there was Facebook and long before there was YouTube, anytime I went to any kind of comments section like AOL used to have under their articles, there would be places where you could make comments. There would the stupid Christians be with their stupid inane arguments. I mean, as long as I can remember the internet existing, there they were, pushing their stupid assumptions on other people and making the same stupid arguments over and over and over. And then they want to know why atheists get angry and frustrated because it's so fucking old and we can't get away from it. You want to know why atheists want to get together and have time with other atheists? Just because they need a vacation from the insanity. It's like going out on the street and having to be around crazy people all the time. It's actually really hard to be around mentally ill people. Not so much now that my mom's in a home, but when my mom was at the hospital, she was at a hospital for 3 months in a ward with other people who were mentally ill. It was very emotionally draining to be around mentally ill people where everybody except you was, you know, delusional. It was very taxing. It was very hard. Sometimes I feel like that. You know, it's just, it gets so tiresome to be around delusional people. It gets so frustrating. And you get so tired. Someone said to me, well, you say the same things over and over and over. It's like, because people say the same arguments to me over and over and over. Of course I'm going to eventually sound like a fucking broken record. Because there's only one response to, well, God loves you. Well, prove fucking God exists, because until you do, saying that something loves me that for which there's no evidence whatsoever to show it exists is stupid. Well, I just don't understand why you don't believe in God. Well, do you have a hard time understanding why I don't believe in leprechauns? Do you realize that there's as much evidence for gods as there are for leprechauns? Why is it so hard for you to understand that I don't believe one? I don't believe in one, and for the same reasons that I don't believe in the other. Why is that so hard to understand? I just get tired. I get so tired of it. And then they get pissy. It's like, if you don't listen to their stupid, pull the string and hear the same fucking arguments over and over, if you don't give them the time of day, if you shut them down, then they turn around and they tell you you're fat or ugly or you're whatever. They get rude and then they get very personal. They start insulting you personally, showing their Christ-like nature so well. Anyway, just frustrated, very frustrated. And I felt like making a video and expressing that, and I guess there was an actual, I was thinking I would discuss several different subjects. That's when I started out, I was thinking this would be a stream of conscious video and I would just have a whole bunch of different little subjects that I would talk about. But it ended up being just pretty much about the same thing, how I get really fucking tired of arrogant Christians. And I'm sorry, it takes a great deal of arrogance to walk around and say, my beliefs are the only beliefs, and my religion is the only right religion, and my God is the only right God, and I mean, and then making your God like it's a real person and assuming, and then trying to force other people to assume it too. You have to come down to that level just to speak to you. It's like, no, I don't feel like talking about a fiction book right now. If I was going to talk about a fiction book, I would rather talk about Bilbo Baggins and Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, because those guys, in my opinion, are cool characters with cool personalities and qualities that are admirable, whereas I think the qualities and characteristics of your God are not so admirable, and in fact are reprehensible. It's not a character I admire or look up to or think is wonderful. It's a horrible character in a really horrible book. If I'm going to have a talk about a book, if I'm going to do a book review with you, let's make it a good fiction book and not one that's a piece of shit. I don't want to waste my time talking about your crappy little obscene book. Frustrated. Anyway, this is what I call a rant. It's not a stream of conscious video, it's a rant video. This is me having a rant. And I guess I just felt like getting it out. So if you've been listening, thanks. Bye. Yammer, 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 yammer. Ramble, ramble, ramble.